Hello, welcome to video 4 in my aluminum can flower tutorial series of the basics that you need to know. We left off in video 3 shaping our cans into flowers, and there are a couple of things that I wanted to go over that I neglected to mention in video 3. Sometimes you'll see when you've cut your flowers, you have these ridge marks. They're the little bumpy marks right there, and that can be from a lot of different things. It can be from the thickness of the cans. Some happen to be thicker than others, or it can be the scissors that you used. So I just wanted to show you that if you do see these ridge marks, an easy fix is to just cut them down. Like so. Generally, when they're painted, you won't notice those things, but as you can see, now that ridge is gone. Now we've got some random denting going on here, and you'll have that at times, especially with the larger cans. That's not a big deal. Once it's painted and you decorate it, you can hide a lot of those flaws. So I'm going to set that aside. I just wanted you to see that part. And another thing that I wanted to go over with you is what you can do to your flower petals to make them pop with design, either prior to painting or after painting. It really doesn't matter. The only thing that would be a factor if you did make these indentation designs, it would be a factor if you used, say, jarred paint, any kind of house paint, which I've done before. Sometimes it will crack when you do your indents, but I just wanted to show you very quickly how we do that. You'll want to have some sort of a givable surface, not a table, nothing hard, something that has a little bit of give. And you will take, well, we'll just do it on this one. Take the petal down like this, and any kind of pen. You can even use a bald stylus if you choose to, but I feel a pen does the most detail. And so to do this look right here, I've got a blank one there. I'll flip over and show you. Just want to hold it tight and score it with your pen a few times. You'll notice it'll curve a little bit. And I see right there, I want to get one more maybe in this side. Flip it back over, do a little line. There's nothing special to it, and there's no rules as far as the lines and how you make them. Then when we've got a little one here, I'll show you how we do the same thing. Just score it with a few quick dash lines, and you've got that look. Now you can do circles that are three-dimensional. You can do any design you wish. It's, like I said before and many times, there's no rules with this. Be creative. Try something new. And right here is just like a squiggly line. And it's the same. You just flip it over, do what you want to do. If you want to write words, keep in mind that everything will turn up backwards. So you can actually make a little template out of a piece of aluminum, set it on, so it would be like this, and write very hard over it and make sure that your template does not move, and you'll have beautiful little words. This love, you can put names, you can do flowers, you can do just a bunch of squigglies. But like I said, if you use spray paint, and that's primarily what I use a good quality. The cheap brands aren't very good. I stick with Rust-Oleum for the most part. The 2X seems to be the best and have the longest wear. So that was something I needed to cover with you. And now that that's done, we'll go on to your completed cans. All of the pieces that we worked on, I'm going to show you with some smaller pieces today. You're going to get a small piece of wood. And what you want to do is have your flowers ready. I made this little template a while back. It isn't necessary to do, but it can be helpful. What you do, set it inside, and you're just cutting out a can completely to the silver, and you're going around, making sure not to bend or mess up the structure of the base of the can. You pop it in, just like such. Take your Sharpie or marker, mark the center, pop it out. Got a perfect location right there. And you'll want to do that to all of them. Does make it easier, because if the holes don't match up, you won't be able to assemble them to one another. So I've got a big screw here. You can use a fat nail, pretty much anything you want. This was just what I happened to have laying around. I set it on that black spot, tap it a couple times, and then I want to move it up and down and side to side, which will make the hole somewhat bigger, and that is the result. So I'm going to do these other two. Oops, didn't go far enough. There we go. Up and down, side to side, pull it out. The last one. Up and down, side to side, pull it out. Perfect hole. So, next thing you want to do is paint your flowers. So, we talked about, no, I guess we didn't, I'm sorry. We're going to talk about these fasteners. These are brass plated fasteners. The longer the ones you can find, the better. And you are going to take a piece of cardboard and you are going to fasten them to this piece of cardboard through this center piece. So you stick your fastener through. I have holes already because I have done this so many times. I try to use the same ones over and over not to waste cardboard. And let's just say these are the only ones that you want painted today. I always put on one of these latex gloves. I do not like getting spray paint on my hands. So, say I have the glove on. You're going to be in a well-ventilated area, preferably outside, far away from any vehicles, a house, plants, neighbors, things of that sort. You hold it, you spray it. The centers don't matter unless they are going to be your top flower. So this one would ideally, due to its size, be my top flower, so I would not paint these the same as these. These, I want the center to be painted. Just as a standard rule, I just spray everything. It makes it easier. And then I don't have to go back if I want to utilize one of these for the top flower. I don't have to go back and try and match colors. So just spray it all. You can also hand paint them if you wish. It's tedious and it doesn't always stay as well as the spray paint. One coat generally will do it. Once they are painted and dry, I do a lot of colors at the same time. You'll have a variety. Different flower colors to work with. I only used up what I had left as far as spray paint goes. So I feel this is a decent variety of colors to show you, but they're glossy. I always use the gloss. I do not like matte paint, and that's my personal preference. So some samples of what they turn out like. So we'll set those aside. And I don't have a lot of flowers left to actually show you the flowers, but I do have images that I would like to show. I'm very new to this, creating videos, so I'm not the most skilled. So the best way is for me to show you pictures. These right here are my sunflowers. They're small sunflowers. Pretty easy to do. I will show you the way to cut the cans for those. Then we've got my happy face flowers. Those are fun to make. Then these are your basic, cute, small toucan flowers right here. More pictures of those. These were rainbow flowers that I did, so of course there's 7 colors. These were fun, very large flowers. These are my large sunflowers that I like to make. The butterflies are also made out of aluminum cans, and I will show you a tutorial later on how to do those. These were my Ohio State flowers. Then we've got Michigan flowers. These are very small flowers. These were fun to just mess around with. These were the Detroit Lion flowers. I did enjoy making these. The centerpiece could get a little difficult, but if you make a template for anything, you'll be good to go. Okay, now to show you how I started on some as far as decorating goes. And your paints, it doesn't really matter what you use. I use standard acrylic paint pens. Those don't usually have an issue with the spray paint. Sometimes if you mix oil paint with spray paint or this paint with that paint, you'll get something called braining, which will bubble up all of your painted area, and it looks very brainy and distorted, and we don't want that. So just to show you what I did was this flower. I want to use these two together to make a flower. So how I did this, just take an acrylic marker here. And these are just, I call them my 5-petal flowers. And I do oops, wrong color. All right, time out. I do a big circle, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, just like that. Move it around, do it again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's a pretty simple flower. Wait for those to dry before you do the center. And this is just an acrylic painter marker. I have a large variety of markers. So this one I've already done. Now if you're going to put flowers with flowers that you want to set aside, and you say, hey, this one's going to be a set, what you want to do is make sure you pop the top up like this so it does not scratch on the bottom flower for the meantime, because it is metal, and metal on metal will scratch the paint. It's not easy to scratch, but it will, so to be careful with that. And so we wait for that to dry and take our center color, just do that yellow dot 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 right in there, and we'll set this aside for now. Now when you've used the fasteners to spray your naked flowers, as you'll see, these are already colored because they're originally purchased, they're brass. But what I do then is find the color, or decide on the color that I want to use for my center part out of ones that I've sprayed already. And we'll say this purple looks quite nice. So what I would do, stick that through just like so, and just bend your fastener like that. Now it's held in place. Now comes the point where you want to put a little design as far as the petals onto your flower. And I like to do the bending. You can actually leave it like this. It looks very nice. It's just I've done them for such a long period of time. I've tried to do new and creative things to make them look somewhat different. So here's an example of a bend, just with your finger. Just a little bend. One thing, there is a step that I skipped, forgive me, but after you have your designs put on your flowers and they're painted the way you want them to be, you want to replace them onto your cardboard and spray them with a sealer. The sealer will hold in all of these accents. They won't scratch as easily, and they'll actually last longer, especially if they're outside. So forgive me for omitting that step, but now you know. So we'll just say that I have sprayed this with a sealer. You can find them at the craft store, any craft store. They're called clear coat, they're called sealant lacquer, top coat, whatever you want to use. You might want to test on a sample piece with your spray to make sure it doesn't do that braining look. I believe I do have something here that has the braining going on, if I can find it. Maybe not, but when I find something, I will show you. It's a look you definitely don't want. It's not attractive. So I keep doing the bend all the way around. That looks a little different, looks nice. You can also do it here, just a little bend. You can get more dramatic with your bending too. It's whatever you like, whatever look you like. If you bend one too far, just pop it up or bend it the other way. So that's one flower done. Now this one I started, this one has 3 flowers, and I did the 5 dot flowers, as you can see on these. But I also wanted to do a little bit of accent to this, to the very top piece. So with this, I have it bent up right now because it was resting in there and I did not want to scratch my other work. So I will bend them back down, just like so. And I will take my pen, if I can find my pen. Here's somewhere. Well, I will grab a different one. And I use my soft surface. And just like we talked about before, do the little lines. Just like that. That's how it turns out. Now, if you want more detail, you can always take one of the paint pens and enhance those lines. Just little wisps, like so. And that looks pretty sharp. I like that. And the indenting gives it just a different look, a different dimension. You don't even have to do that. You can just paint it if you wish. So I have these. And the 5 dot flowers, like we went over before. Make sure I use the right color this time. Just like so. Dot, 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 dot. Boom. And if by chance it's not centered, just make one a little bit bigger on the edge. Go over it again. Now with these paints, I believe, with these paint pens, you have to go over it twice. You let it dry. And one nice thing too is if you decide you don't like the color, just go over it with a darker one. Okay, so those are done. We can finish this one, let this one dry. And let me see, what color did I use for that? These are the newest ones I've purchased. These work really nice. They have 2 options on each end. I like that. All right, so we'll finish these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1. I always start here. Try to get them as even as possible. Start right at the tip. 2, 3, 4, and 5. If there's a little gap, just go over it. All right, so those are done. Now we've got all 3 pieces that we're working on. This one needs to dry. And this one, yeah, I need to go over it again, just to make it match the other colors. It looks pretty good. Just remember though, when you seal it, it's done. So now I'll get my yellow. Do the center. Just like that. Wait for that to dry. Doesn't take very long. I'll do the center on these. So now you've got completed and ready a 3-piece flower. Well, it's not necessarily ready until I decide which way I want to go. If I want to continue with this piece, or if I decided I didn't like this piece, you're still at the point where you can pick and choose another one to put in. But I'll finish this one. We will continue the ridging all the way around. All right, now that that's done, I will take my paint pen, and I like the brush part for this, and just quick little wisps. Okay, now that's done. Everything's done the same. We'll let that one dry. Another thing I like to do is make templates for center flowers. And I've made them out of pop can, Monster, fruit snack, whatever, the cardboard. It's better than cardstock. It's more durable, and it works really well. So here are some samples of little flowers that I've made previously. I can use them for the centerpiece, or I don't need a centerpiece. I can just pick one that's been painted in this group of colors that I've just recently painted, and that yellow I feel will look really nice, especially due to the accents on here having yellow centers. But if you chose to, you could take one of these pieces, we'll say this one, and you just make a hole just the same way that I do with the cans. Or you can actually use a hole, I don't know exactly what it's called, a hole punch, all different sizes. This one's small if you wanted a very small center, but either way, it doesn't matter how you do it, as long as it's smaller than the head of the fastener. Now see, I've got that. Now if I wanted to, say, put it in here, fasten this down. See, now that's quite attractive that way. You can even add wisps into this middle flower. The only time I really use the flower parts rather than the cans is when there's some sort of flaw on my top piece. It hides it really well. But we're gonna stick with the original. And because I painted it, I will want to bend these all down so they don't rub up against one another. Bend as such. I know I'm all over the place, but I've never made videos before, and I've done this so many times, sometimes I forget important little parts in teaching someone else. So bear with me and be patient. Then we've got this piece. And I think what I'm going to do is do a little bend on these before I stick it in. Just like such. All right, lift them up slightly so they're not scratching and rubbing on the flower that's sitting underneath it. Okay, now see how that sits? Very nice. Now with this one that we just painted, I will pop these up. These are more pointed. They have a tendency to scratch a little easier to the piece underneath. So we can either keep it just as such, Or we can do a bend, just a small one. I would use my fingernail for that. See how that bent? Now I want to push that forward a little bit. And see, it just depends on what look you like. So if I go and through and do every single one of these, it's going to have more of a curved look. It's whatever you like, whatever you want to do. So there we are for that. Assume that I've done uniform all the way around. Then I'll find one of my pins. Oh, we'll use this one that we had before. Stick it in the center. You can do your bending too at the very end after you've fastened them together. And you're going to be just bending it like such. You'll hold it tight. Now so you can hold it. If I wanted to bend these a little bit. And it gives you a different floral look. Sometimes keeping them straight. It's just whatever you want to do. I got tired of just the straight look and wanted to get a little more creative, so I started doing the bends. But when you are coloring your flowers, and this is a perfect example, generally you want an idea of what you're going to put on top of what. So for example, if you wanted to do these little flower designs, you want to make sure that your next flower does not hide them. So as you can see, it wouldn't hide it. Perfect. Want to make sure of that. And here's just some samples of other designs I've done. And like with this one, I laid them on, made sure when I did my first flower that when I set the second one, the white one on, made sure it wasn't covering the design I spent time making. And like I said, finish bending it around. And then we'll set the flowers that are done, we'll set those aside, and I will have another video to show you how we actually assemble them. But right now we're finishing up on the parts of the flowers and decorating them and putting them together. We have leaves to cover also. And we will get to that. So that looks quite nice. So I've got these two done right now, and I'm just going to set these aside. I want to show you a few flowers that I do happen to have, and that is a particular look. I know that we rounded off edges in the last video, but you don't have to for every single one. Sometimes it's nice to just leave them be. And we've got this one. Here is a smiley face one. This one has been through a little bit, so as you can see, I've had this one a while and it's gotten, with time, a little dent right there, but I can try and bend that, conceal it somewhat. And I made a template to do the smiley face, and it really doesn't matter if it's perfect. It makes no difference. They're easy to touch up. I just used a black paint pen. I think first, if I'm not mistaken, I used a Sharpie to do the outline of what I wanted it to look like, then filled it in with a paint pen. So that one, now you can't even tell it had a dent in it. Now, this one was my most popular flower, and I've made many different versions of this, my Michigan flower. I've done Ohio State, I've done, you name it, I've done it. I also wanted to show you that you don't always have to paint them with designs. They look pretty cool, plain. But it's all up to you and how comfortable you are and how much you want to spruce them up. Here's another one I've done. I take them to the cemetery, usually in the spring when I visit family and friends. Now this one I just wanted to get a little more creative. Excuse me. And so I just did polka dots and just wanted something different. Now here's just a sample. You can do the polka dot look. And if you're doing the polka dot look on your bottom flower, you can just go crazy with it because it doesn't matter if part's covered. You'll be able to see. Just little squiggly lines. It's limitless. So we've covered the assembly and decorating of the flowers. The next video we will go into, that will be video 5. We are going to cover making our leaves, and I can't wait to show you how that's done. Thanks for watching.